deficiencies or the areas of concern in December of 2012, and they were a little. That was one of the issues. Was why we would have waited and not done anything since December. And I know from my perspective, I had a briefing 2 days before the report came out officially, and at that time I was heading out of town, and I had left a message that as soon as the report came out, to make sure that every board member would get it. And so that was one area of concern that they had, was that we had not adequately addressed the issues. And another area is that, you know, we have got to come up with solutions of how we're going to fix. Some things we're going to be able to fix. Some things we're not going to be able to fix. And that's what we've got to do, is to identify those that, I think the one, just identify those that we can't fix. And let's go forward and show that, but how are we going to put safeguards in place to make sure that those don't happen again? And the ones that, I know the incentives is one of the biggest issues, and we have to look at, number one, determine, can we continue the incentive and meet state statutes? We cannot say that we're going to just ignore state statute and pass and say, well, it's okay for us to have done it this way. There are ways, you know, that we can do it, but you know, the water incentive, I think, is one of the most important, and I know that the interpretation by the state legislators that I've talked to is that the only one that can negotiate a reduced water rate or special rate or contract is the water utilities. Now, we're very unique here in Texarkana in that we own the water utilities, plus it's jointly managed by both sides. So we've got to, you know, we've got to be fairly consistent, because that's one of the reasons that we actually sued the city of Texarkana, Texas, because they were not operating under the same agreements that we had, that it was a joint operation that we would do. Some things we'd have to do similar. So with that, I think that, you know, Bill's going to have to really, I think there are ways to negotiate reduced water rates. But I know that the attorney has requested through AEDC to see what has done in the past and guidance from them on how we can do it. But I think we need to be real careful that we do not eliminate the water utility from the negotiation of water contracts. Now, we can certainly, if our ordinance allows it, like, we can put in there a special customer, identify customers, but everybody that meets that criteria, it's the same rates. Yes?
How are we going to do this without putting the director of water utilities and his position in jeopardy? I mean, let's face it, he's hired by both cities. And of course, he's going to work for both city managers and the council. Now, how are we going to do this to keep him from getting any backsplash from all this?
Well, go ahead, Bill.
I don't think that that's one of the primary concerns, in that the two cities, for the most part, keep their own rates, their own procedures. Now, does the water utility like to have both sides have the same procedures? Oh, yeah. Because remember, two sets of rules is tough, but there's nothing wrong with it in most instances. And I think you'll find that the state statutes in Texas, even with the subject you're talking about, are quite a bit different from what they are in Arkansas, from what I can learn so far.
No, we have, and I answer your question, we have in the past, TWU, and also since I've been here, they've negotiated twice, same contract. We had to negotiate it 2 different times because the time period ran out was with Genoa and Miller County Water District. And TWU did exactly what our ordinance said. They negotiated it, they presented it to us, we approved it. I mean, it's not that we can't negotiate the price, it's just that we've got to follow state statute. And the interpretation from the legislators that I have discussed with, that the water utility is the one that has to do it. Now, you know, we're kind of unique that we own the water utilities here. But, you know, we may have to look at different avenues from getting some special consideration from the state. I don't think so. You know, they were not receptive, or one legislator was not receptive to having any special legislative sessions just for Texarkana to provide change the statute just for the uniqueness of us. So, I mean, we're going to look at, I think there's ways that we can do it. I don't know. And I think that's where, for us, we need to allow the water utility and our attorney. I mean, we have gotten to some point in time, and our attorney is going to have to, I think, somewhere there right now, kind of verify or certify or assure us as board members that the ordinance or resolution we pass is in accordance with state statute. Now, how we do that, I don't know. You know, and that's where the attorney, you know, when we pass a resolution or an ordinance or something, we expect it to be within statutes. And right now, we really don't have a mechanism for that assurance. I mean, there's nothing there that says that the attorney signs off on it, you know, on every resolution after we pass it. But that's not assurance for us before we pass it, that it's been reviewed and that it is within state statute. Now, is that going to slow down? I think it will slow down our government process. That might be a good thing. I mean, it might be that you know, we will, at least when we vote, that we're not voting on something that's against state statute. Now then, when somebody else comes in and looks at it and determines that, you know what, you didn't follow state statute. And then we got all this like we've got here now. So, and I guess one of the biggest ones is the water. I think the two with the water, the two incentives. I think that we should, from my perspective, I think that we should task our TWU and our attorney to look at it and for them to determine is there a legal way that we can provide this kind of water rates for how long? Let them come to us and tell us. Because I'm real reluctant to vote on something unless I've got some assurances that it has passed the muster. Because when we went up there, it was just, we violated state statutes. And I say we, as board members, I mean, we were the ones that ultimately, almost every one of them, we passed. And the water incentives we did. We passed every water incentive. Now, did we have adequate information? I'm not sure. But, I don't think we did, but that's here or there. But we can't fix it. The only thing we can do now is to make sure that we don't jump into it. I think I believe the legislators would like to hear that we're doing it to meet the state statute. And to me, that's the most important is that we're going to put a mechanism where if we can do the incentives, then I think we should do it 100%. I think we should. But let's do it within the state statute. At this point, I know that now, right now, please correct me, that everyone is paying the customary rate at this point.
That's correct.
And you are looking at coming back with us with a recommendation of what to do with the monies that are in arrears. And based upon each individual.
Trying to work very closely with George and do
Yeah,
this.
George, but you know, so to me, I think with those two water issues, I would hope that the legislators would accept that's an appropriate response, that we've tasked TWU and our attorney to come back with us a mechanism that's within state statutes, that our attorney tells us is within state statutes, and that our attorney's the one that, to me, it's very important that our attorney not necessarily write the resolutions, but he certainly has to make final approval on them. That he's got to, you know, he's got to have adequate time to look at it, and when it's presented to us, and we have some assurances that our attorneys looked at it, our attorney feels very comfortable that it meets the state statute. Because that's where we, in this whole legislative audit, we did not have a mechanism of us, as the board members, ensuring that we met all the state statutes on it. Because I don't think that, I don't know any board members that's against the incentives. Just the way we've got to do it, make sure that we're within the state statutes, with our ordinance. So, you know, let me get my notes here, because I will forget things. I don't have my notes. Yeah, and do you agree with that we need to kind of pursue that?
Yeah.
Chad, I mean,
Oh, I agree with it.
okay, so,
I think every resolution, every ordinance that's proposed should be passed before our city attorney, that's why we're there. At least let him sign off on it.
you know, and then not after we pass it, because I think, George, I'm up here throwing your name out, so you're more than welcome to come up here, because you participate in this.
I'll be happy to answer questions as they come up, and I'll come to the podium. if
Okay,
that's
but you know,
fine.
I have a question I want to ask you, and it's nothing that, I want to make sure I understand. What we're talking about, George, is that, right now, when you sign off, you're not certifying that this meets the state statute, you're just signing it.
Traditionally, a lot of cities don't do that. And traditionally, Texarkana has done it, has approved, and I've always viewed that as this is the version that was adopted. Now, from time to time, I've voiced concerns or previous ones of weaknesses and what have you. But I think this is more of a traditional thing that has happened in Texarkana, that the city attorney has signed off on these, not necessarily that they are bulletproof from a legal standpoint, but that this is the one that was adopted by the board.
Would, if what we were talking about, having you know, I mean, just for you to get kind of clarification, these are, if your review would indicate that it's within the state statute, or if you said defensible?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Just by executing a.
Well, no, I mean, I'm asking you, would there be an issue with you? And could that be that we, you know, tell them, we're us board members, we, you know, I'd like to know that.
Specifically the water issue.
Yeah, the
Let's
water issue.
talk about the water issue specifically. This is a little bit of uncharted ground from a appellate review standpoint. There's not a lot of law out there that tells you exactly how to do this. There are a lot of suggestions, and there's a lot of discussion about how other cities are doing it. However, there's not one that has been vetted through the Supreme Court that I've found. Now, it's happened at the state level. There's been some utilities that have what's called special rate contracts and what have you, but that's a different set of facts than what we have. What I would do is we went through this, and will do, and have done, is say, here are my concerns with this proposal. Here where I would see weaknesses with it. I don't set the policy, so I'm not in a position to in effect veto what the board does. The board sets the policy. All I can do is say, here are the concerns I see. And so, yes, sir, I'll be happy to look at the proposals and try to provide input and comments as they come along.
Very good, appreciate it. And then, of course, the next item is basically with the University of Arkansas College at Hope. So, and I don't think, I think we all agree, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we cannot provide free water. State statute strictly prohibits that. So we'll have to come up with something that's going to be a reasonable incentive for the University of Arkansas, where, you know, that we can certainly provide an incentive for them. But as I understand, it is strictly prohibited to give anything for free. Am I correct there?
That's my understanding at this time. So if you have any different one?
No, that's fine.
The next one was reimbursed twice. I think that's pretty much kind of a wash, you know, that it was and it wasn't, but it says that they were reimbursed twice, $44,614, which they were, but then Jessica testified or provided explanation of that at the event, and I think the legislators accepted her response. So, you know, if they accept it, then we're okay with it. I guess now I do think we talked at our last meeting of having some type of reconciliation of all the expenses that was out there for $6.25 million. At some point in time, we need to go through and make sure. The waiving of the $15,000, $15,136, we had, at one meeting, we instructed our attorney to contact EPCO and the owners, and he has contacted he has got a response from EPCO, and basically they're saying there's a responsibility of the owners, they're not going to pay the $15,000.
You're talking about building permit.
Building permit, yes. Our question is, do we really want to, do we want to beat up a dead horse? And I mean, we probably could go through, have our attorney go through the process of contacting the owner. They'll probably get the same response the owner did. Probably will, I don't know for sure, but if I was the owner, I'd respond the same way with the contractor. The city waived it, I'm not going to pay it. Do we want to get it, the question is, do we want to get it behind us and just set up a mechanism? I think that there is a procedure that we're going to have to.
I want to vote on it.
Oh, no, I'm just throwing it out there. No, I mean, I'm just saying that. There's three alternatives to get the money. The contractor. His contract shows that it was the owner's responsibility to pay the building permit fee. The owner. Or the city. And my question is, I would say, do we want to get it? We would have to sue the city to get it. We'd have to sue ourselves. Now, we would be suing, I mean, technically you could sue individually. I mean, the city manager individually. Like I said, I'm more concerned with us. Number one, do we want to utilize waiving of building permit fees as an incentive? No. Okay. If we do, then we need to put it in ordinance and specifically state how we're going to do it, what the criteria is, and who has the authority to do it. Is there a level that has to come to the board? Now, it's a revenue. These building permit fees are revenue for the city. I mean, I would probably myself, and I'm just saying myself, I would vote against waiving a building permit or waiving any revenue because we need it. But the only way that we can do it is that now we can have it where if there is a large company or somebody that comes in here and that's part of it, if they contingent upon them coming, is to be presented to the board with, come on in. Oh, that's all right. How you doing? With, we're just kind of discussing this, and Susie, I'm glad she's here, because she was here at the legislative bill, so if I say anything incorrect, she can correct me. But the building permit thing, like I said, is, there's a couple ways. You put it in the ordinance, and I think, if I'm correct, it's Paul's responsibility. It's under his area that we would have to modify the ordinance and allow a waiver or a waiver of the building permit fee. And then set, if we do it, then there needs to be some criteria. And there needs to be some level. Paul might be able to do one. City manager might be able to do something. Eventually it may have to go to the board. I don't know. To me, it's waiving revenue. It's just like taxes. You're going to waive a tax. And right now, I think I would look at us considering that if there is, certainly there may be a special something large that comes in that's going to really benefit the city that we could consider it, but it needs, I think it needs to come, personally, I think it needs to come to the board, let us all know that what we're doing, we all agree, because we're all gonna have to justify to our citizens, our constituents. Now, would y'all mind waiving my property tax? Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that you're asking, I'm asking, if I come to you and said, Paul, I don't know, I guess whoever said, Paul, I want you to waive my property tax. I'm the mayor, I would hope the answer would be no. Okay. So, and that's what we're doing, you're waiving a revenue. And at this point, I don't think we can afford to waive any revenue. We need all we can get to make sure that we meet our obligations. So, but looking at it from that standpoint, I think our response should be the one that we're going to, we will, if we're going to waive the building permit fee, that we will set a mechanism that criteria of what it is, and it will be in an ordinance form. And I think everything we do concerning this needs to be an ordinance, because ordinance is law, resolution can be changed tomorrow. But I'm not advocating one way or another, I'm just saying, if we want to do it, we got to have a discussion. I mean, what do y'all think about the building permit thing?
If anyone is large enough that it's going to benefit the entire city, they're probably not going to ask for us to waive their building fees.
And I have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking that, I don't know that that would be a consideration. Now, they may want to talk about something like water rates. If it's some big company that's planning to come in here to hire 5,000, 10,000 people, I think that would be justified. I don't think that anything that would be that big would say, no, wait a minute, we're going to come in there, we're going to spend this
Yeah.
money. I just can't, I cannot envision that happening with something that large, because most people are going to have that built in when they apply for their loans, or whatever they're trying to get.
No, in my research about it, Paul can help me, because there has never been a waiver, prior waiver of the building inspector. Never, that I can find. Let me recall it. There's never been one that Paul has researched and could not find a waiver of any. They won't even want, and we get it all the time. I hear, you get people are putting, I use a fence, putting a fence in, and get aggravated because they got to pay a building permit fee for a building. Matter of fact, a fence company one time we were talking, he said that was kind of hurting his business because we required a building permit for fences. But like I said, we can't. Well, I don't think we can wait unless we put it in our ordinance. We can.
I'm not for waiving building permit fees. We've never done it before. Why should we start now? It shouldn't be a deal breaker when
No.
somebody wants to come in and invest
That's what I'm saying, basically.
in the city. $15,000, I mean, compared to what we built, the convention center for is pennies.
And the bad thing about this building permit, that when it reaches, and it did on this one, when it reaches a certain level, the state has a surcharge. And they didn't waive their surcharge. We actually had to pay it, so, that's, and we may, and Paul, you may jump in here, we may want to look at our changing our ordinance that if there is a consideration that the board, for waiving a building permit fee, that it has to be presented to the board of directors with some justification. I mean, I don't want to say that, if we say that you can't, if it's not there, then when we get ready, if there is a deal breaker or something, we can't do it because the statute doesn't allow us to, or the ordinance doesn't. So I do think that maybe, I don't know what it would be, but we put in there that the waiving of building permit fee has to come before the board of directors. And now, George, I know that we've talked about waiving stuff. If we put it in an ordinance, would that be legal? I know that we can't waive now. We could not legally waive one if we wanted to at this point.
I've done very limited research, but I have looked, and I didn't find any examples right off of ordinances or appellate court cases dealing with waiving of a building permit fee. I was in attendance in Little Rock last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, and I did hear ADC say that that's a common practice.
Yeah.
And my thought, if that is the direction this board would like to go, is to contact them and say, help us out with this. We don't have to invent this in a vacuum. We can ask for some help. And like I said, I did look briefly at it, but that didn't seem to be a focus at the time of this board, so I haven't spent a lot of time with it.
No, I
And
just,
the indication was that the board, if our ordinance says so, could waive.
yeah, you know, if our board says,
Our ordinance just needs to be corrected.
yeah, no, I think
And
it's,
there may be special circumstances or criteria or.
Well, if you want to go that route, or like you're saying,
Or-
maybe set certain guidelines ahead of time,
Correct,
so you just don't waiver a building permit fee for somebody who's building a house here.
correct, I agree.
As a favor.
Yeah, I would agree.
Convention center here, or whether it be a soup factory or a Mercedes company.
you know, if we had a soup factory coming here, I would certainly probably, if they're willing to come in, I'd probably be willing to vote waive their building fee. But I said, May, I don't know. But I just think we need to make sure that we have it in here, and we just don't. Next item, I think it's one that we've already answered it, safeguard, is the retirement contribution made to annual contribution beginning of each year. We've already addressed that. We just need to make sure that, you know, that's always in any of our contracts or agreements with any of our employees on contributions, that it's got to be consistent with our personnel policy. And this one here, I guess this is the one where I think we really do, either we've got to do it through audit or do it through somehow, the inadequate documentation of disbursements and city funds. And we're talking 4.4 something million, I think, 4.1 million, I believe it is, that we really do need to have an accounting. And I know that we've got a policy, our purchase policy says that anything over $25,000 has to come, $25,000 and a penny has to come to us, regardless of whether or not we can appropriate funds. I usually, PW is perfect for example. The one out here at Four States Fairgrounds, at Waterline. We appropriated, we authorized him to, I think you estimate what was it? Let's say, I don't know, but let's say it was a couple, 150,000. We approved him to proceed with that, using 150. He still went out and got bids, he did his engineering study. When he got through, he brought it back to us, and the board approved it. That's where we have to make sure, and that's where we were deficient, and we didn't follow the, 4.14 million, okay.
Chad and I were asking for it, but we didn't like the fact that we were presenting this typed up sheet from the city manager's office saying for dirt
Yeah.
and an amount. We wanted to see what had been submitted to us. Everybody's looking for things. So that we could see exactly who's being paid and how and for what work. You know, we did this repeatedly. I think that you can go back and check the records, and we did.
Well, yeah, no, I do. And I think for us to answer this is that we will, now I heard something, and maybe I heard it wrong, and maybe Sue could help. The question was asked, has everything been paid? And I always thought the answer was yes. But the answer I heard, and did you hear it differently, Sue?
There was still some.
There's still some stuff that Harold.
I think that, I did not hear the specifics of what that was.
No, we didn't hear specifics, but Harold testified that there are still bills outstanding that we may be paid, we haven't had to pay. Is that correct, Sue? I mean, I was listening and I was flabbergasted a little bit.
We've been told that that was all.
I don't like to use the word bills, but I think.
Well, not bills,
There's still
Some outstanding
Outstanding invoices.
well, or
obligations.
maybe obligated.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Just of whatever the project was, that whatever, I guess, the city agreed to, along with the city's house, if that was all done or not. There might be still some pieces, you know, there was some things with the electrical that came up.
Yeah, that's what-
that never came back. That's the one I can think of, just off.
Yeah, like I said, it just kind of,
In addition to the six.
in addition to what we've already paid.
And what have we already paid?
I don't have it. And that's the reason I think we should have,
Where is our finance?
we should have, our response needs to be, that we're going to do a final, out, and independent. Chad, this is your, the regular, so, I don't like, I don't know, you tell me what to worry about.
Well, first we gotta figure out who's doing the audit.
Yes.
But my understanding was that
The,
the legislature cannot do it.
the state cannot do it.
Right,
Yeah.
because-
But we didn't get there, we didn't request it happen.
Right. So whoever the firm we engage to perform the audit, my suggestion would be to have them either specifically look at the $4.1 million and to reconcile with whatever invoices there are out there, to reconcile to true it up. Whether that be an additional agreed upon procedures.
I think we'll have to.
Yeah, and it shouldn't take them much time to do that if the backup is there. If they don't have to hunt for it. But yeah, that's something that you can easy.
The next one. Transfer of the $584,500 transfer to infrastructure fund, Texas TW. Basically that one there, I mean, it's already happened, shouldn't have happened without the board's approval. And the only concern I have, and we need to address it, when this was transferred, it was identified by invoice that it was for $439,000 for furniture, fixtures, expenses, and the other was for dirt work. Now this is morphed into, we're telling the auditor, the legislative committee that, no, that's not what it was used for. It was used for, to reimburse the city for other capital improvements items. And I'm not sure that we're being 100% truthful on that, and I just don't want to. The response to here is response to the audit. Well, it was noted on the check, $145,000 for invoice 7, which is dirt work for building, pad, parking, detention basin, utilities, dumpster fees, inspection testing, general labor, change order, dirt work for poor soil conditions, site stabilization, site, very, very generic, almost all the invoices. Then it had, for invoice 8, remaining FF and E draw $439,000. So that's 584. That's what the check says, that's what everything said.
Now, he presented us with an invoice for that.
It presented an invoice for that, but now then, let me see here. We have a response to the auditors. City, under the city manager's response. But that's not what it was used for. And I'm just saying, we just need to say, hey, it was used for that. Well, we're not gonna do it again. I just have it was brought up. I've got it somewhere here. No, it wasn't here. Yeah, it is. Okay, here's the response provided from the city. According to city ordinance, L 275 funds and infrastructure fees are to be used for capital needs of the city. In September, I authorized $584,500 to be transferred to the city from the infrastructure fund that is held in Texarkana Water Utility. These funds were transferred to the general fund in order to reimburse the city for past and future capital needs that were or would be paid out by the city general fund, such as land purchase, utilities, construction of parking lots, Commerce Drive. As I stated my other day, October the 18th, Mr. Locke, these costs were associated with check number 21633 paid to Investors Company. As city manager, I felt I had authority to transfer these funds and approve payment associated with the transfer. You know, I mean, perception of, that's debatable there. I think it's already been determined, the audit determined that it was an inappropriate transfer. My concern is that we have now given a response that is inconsistent with what the documents say. And I think, I just have a concern that that's a breach of the bylaws. Pardon?
I said, I think the finance department needs to go back and verify that this is correct.
Yeah, no.
And that's,
I don't know why our finance director's not here. We have someone to ask the question
I know I'm not supposed to be talking to.
Okay.
I did, for what is separate, non-related issue, person in my office tried to contact Jessica today, and I believe she's out sick today.
But I'm just saying, the check has the invoice attached, what the check is paid for. And that was one of the issues was is that furniture, fixtures, and equipment is not a capital expense. So, like I said, it's something that we need to look at. The final one is the real estate transactions. And that's something that, you know, the real estate transactions already happened. We just need to, and I think one of the questions was is that why didn't you have somebody from the real estate field involved in your real estate transactions? To know what, you know, is it consistent with what you're paying, you know, fair market value? And our response may be, you know, in the future that we do, any real estate transactions that we have somebody from the real estate field that's going, it may cost us some money, but it may prevent this here. I mean, we can't go back and say, okay.
Is there anything in our ordinances or resolutions that requires an appraisal of property before the purchase?
No, but that was one of the recommendations, why didn't you get it first? Or something like that. See,
that's correct.
Yeah.
I don't ever recall that there's anything.
No, there's nothing in the ordinance.
That's what I was.
Yeah, I mean, it
It just
just,
might keep us from getting into a trap like that in the future, is maybe getting an ordinance and
require appraisal.
the board state that before any, property is purchased, there's an appraisal.
Purchase or transfer.
Right.
Yeah, so we gotta make sure that we're selling it.
Make sure, I mean,
I know when we transferred that property, it was the fire departments, we sold it, wasn't there an appraisal for that?
So what now?
The property on College Hill, oh, the fire station was, we did something.
Yeah, we did, you know, we actually had a real estate handle that, a real estate agent. It was listed with, in fact, Paul was responsible for that. He handled it with real estate. Had a real estate agent to,
That's all I need.
yeah, I think we gotta, you know, this is one where we can't go back and undo what we've done. The thing is, how do we set safeguards? We gotta look at some safeguards and setting that we're going to put in here. And that's what we got. That's,
I mean, banks won't loan somebody money by something.
yeah. Well, that's what I knew, because one of the businesses there was getting ready to locate. It was all contingent upon what the appraisal of the land was going to be before they could even finalize the loan, was the appraisal of it. So, I mean, it's certainly, you know, like I said, it's done, over. But we just need to me, we just need to get safeguards put in there. And I think it's very important from us. I know we've got 6:30 to make a break. We have got to, the city will be back up to they passed the motion not to close the audit, to keep it open, and we've got to go back on, I believe it's May the 9th, I don't have a firm date, but I would like to be able to go back and share, but this is what we're looking at doing. This is, you know, number one is that I don't want us to come back, knee-jerk reactions, do this and say, this was approved, this is, and tonight we got a couple of ordinances that's going to address that. What we do tonight, I think, will set the direction of what the city's going to do in the future. And, I think we need to be careful that we do not send the wrong message of how much we really understand the consequences of what happened, state statutes. I just, like I said, everybody's got to vote for the way they want to vote, and I just think that if we take it that we're not, what do we got to, I look, we got to agree with the auditors, because they're the experts. They're the ones that said it's not. It is not, as I heard someone say, just baby issues. It's not just that we need to cross our T's and dot our I's. It's not those, this audit's not that. It's serious, and there's some serious incidents there that happen. It can all be corrected. We just got to make sure that we, as a board, it's all our responsibility. It's our responsibility as the elected officials to do it. And we just got to make sure that we are doing it where we're protecting the citizens' money, we're protecting communities, we're doing the right thing. I know the incentives we've got, we've done to try to, any incentive that we can, we've got to try to apply. I believe that, any of them, and all of them. Any comments? I know, just kind of let you know, we talked about the water incentives, and one thing we said was that, that we would